Welcome to my webinar. My name is Brian Beto with Cashflow Wizards, where we help people from all backgrounds bring cash flow into their lives so they can live a life of abundance and freedom. My main goal with this webinar is to reach as many people as possible with the information that I have gleaned over 15 years of investing in real estate. I've had a lot of successes and failures, and I think I've learned more from my failures, but I want to bring you that information that if you know this stuff up front, this could save years in your investing career. I know a lot of you are struggling in this economy, and my wish is this information. It'll open your eyes to see what's possible and give you hope. If you're here, I can only imagine it's for a few different reasons. Maybe you just want to bring more cash flow in your life. I mean, who doesn't, right? Maybe you've never invested in real estate and you would like to learn how. Maybe you're an experienced investor and you just want to up your game. You're looking for that next gold nugget. Well, we can help you too. Maybe you're like me and you just want to get out of your job and find a way to replace that income so you can actually have some time freedom and spend time with your family and kids. Maybe you've just retired and you're looking for a way to stretch that money because you're worried it's going to run out. They say that's the greatest worry of over 60% of retirees. They don't want to outlive their money. Whatever the reason, go ahead and put it in the chat. Tell me why you're here. And while you're there, tell me what your name is and where you're from. I'd like to get to know you a little bit. With that said, I would like to make two commitments to you. The first commitment is that I want to bring as much value as possible on this webinar. I know your time is valuable, and I don't want to waste that. My second commitment is I want to answer all your questions. So when you have a question, just put it in the chat. If I don't get to it during the webinar, I will do a quick Q&A at the end. If I don't get to it there, I'll have my contact info on there, and you can just reach out to me with your questions, and I will answer them. I also want to congratulate you for being here. A lot of people, they want a better life. They want more money in their life, but they're not willing to do anything to get it. I congratulate you for showing up here today. At least you're taking some time out of your week to learn. And that's what I'm looking for. People that are willing to do better with their lives to help their family and future generations. I can deliver on that. With that said, I am going to go ahead and start this webinar. The name of my webinar is How to Have Financial and Time Freedom Without Spending 40 Years in a Soul-Sucking Job. I know that title may sound a little sarcastic, but I am part Scottish, so it's kind of in my DNA. But honestly, statistics say that over 75% of people do not like their job. That only leaves 25% that do. I used to fit in that category. I was working as a carrier in the post office. I liked my job. I just couldn't stand my boss giving me crap every day. Maybe you're like that. Maybe you're here because you don't have any time freedom. That was the reason I wanted to get out of my job. And I was tired of them telling me what I was worth. That just kind of bothered me. If you're the lucky 25% that do like their job, this information can radically change your retirement account. You can bring more cash flow in your life, and you don't have to quit your job to do that. Our definition of financial freedom is monthly passive cash flow that is greater than your monthly expenses. That way, if you don't want to get out of bed that morning and go to work, you still have money coming in. And that's a good feeling. What you're going to learn today. This is all about real estate investing and business ownership. If you're here looking to learn about stocks and bonds or crypto or the latest cash flow craze, you're not going to find it here. This is all about real estate investing and business ownership and how the two go together. We're going to talk about why cash flow is more important than net worth. Net worth is really just a snapshot of the past. When we look at the people in 2005, they may have had a great net worth. And then 2007 came along and the market crashed. Maybe they had $500,000 in their house. And all of a sudden that $500,000 in equity just disappeared. That is not a real good gauge of your wealth. Where cash flow, it comes in every day. You can manage it. You can increase it, improve it. So that's why we focus on cash flow. Then I'm going to talk about how to build generational wealth, that you can learn these things and pass it on to future generations, and then they'll know how to create wealth for themselves. Plus, you can have this family bank, is what we call it, that you can hand down and grow each generation down the line. Here's the 3 secrets to financial freedom. The investor with the most strategies wins. You don't want to be that one-trick pony guy that only knows how to wholesale or how to do fix and flips, and you come across a deal that doesn't fit in that parameter and you pass on it. If you know a dozen different strategies, do you think you could find one that would fit that deal? That's what we're all about. We want you to be an experienced investor with a broad band of knowledge. Then the second secret is how to recover all the money the IRS and the banks took from you without your permission. And trust me, it's a lot. They say 95% of business owners pay too much in income tax. And if you're a W-2 employee, you're in the group that pays the highest amount of tax. Then savers are losers. This was from Robert Kiyosaki's book, Cashflow Quadrant. He was saying how they tell us how to save our money, a savings account or CDs, or maybe our retirement or 401k. Those are not the best ways to save money. And I will tell you why. I would like to address this. If you've tried real estate in the past and failed, it's not your fault. The system is rigged. I didn't realize how rigged it was when I got started. By the time you're a little kid and you're going to school, kindergarten through college, they're feeding you propaganda because they have an outcome for you. They want you to be an employee. The government, the banks, the media, their whole goal is if you're an employee, you feed into their system. They want to keep you in debt and in need. They want your nose to the grindstone so you don't have time to look up and see opportunities that are out there. They don't want you financially free because then you're not indebted to them. Because if you're an employee, you're funding Wall Street and the banks. Wall Street handles all your retirement accounts. They're telling you to invest in stocks and bonds. And the banks, they want to get a hold of all that interest, the mortgage interest and your car loans and the credit cards. But we don't have to participate in that system. As a cash flow wizard, our mission is to help 1,000 overworked, underpaid employees become cash flow wizards. That way you're controlling your financial platform. We focus on cash flow, not net worth. Like I said, net worth is a snapshot of the past. We don't build nest eggs like the media tells you to do. We buy chicken farms. That way, the chickens keep laying eggs. And even though we may eat a few, the next day there's more eggs in that nest. We're growing our cash flow. And then we welcome new and experienced investors. We have something for everyone here. The one I want you to take away from this webinar is you don't need to work 40 years in a job to have financial freedom. It's a rigged system. And second thing is understanding financial literacy is key. It's hard to break free of that until you understand the core principles of financial literacy. Third is real estate investing doesn't have to be complicated or confusing. There is a step-by-step system you can take, and I will show you that. And once you achieve financial freedom, you're free to find your purpose. If you're not going to a job every day, you can actually find what really lights you up in the morning and go do that. Then all you do, once you have the cash flow, is you're trying to increase it. And that way you can hand that down to future generations. And that comes to the last point. You can leave a legacy and you don't have to be rich. I will show you how you can continue this financial literacy for generations to come. So I'm excited. Are you? What would you do with complete financial freedom? If you had more than enough money to pay your bills every month, what would you do? Now, I suspect some of you might say, I would golf, I would travel, I would do all that. But trust me, I've known people that have done this. After about 6 months to a year, they're kind of done. Then you have to find what fires you up in the morning, what makes you want to jump out of bed. That's what this does for me. I love sharing information. I love helping people change their lives. That fires me up. This disclaimer, we got to get the lawyer stuff out of the way. Renatus does not guarantee any level of money, success, or lifestyle from using the Renatus education. All testimonials are unique to that specific customer. Your results will be different and will vary depending on several factors, including your starting point, your effort, and your resource. Everybody comes into this game at a different place. That's one rule, is don't compare yourself to others. Some people take off like a rocket, and some people like me, I was doing this 10 years before I really had any success. We're on both ends of the scale here. First, I want to talk a little bit about my journey and where I got started. I like this picture because it looks like it's a nice straight road and it goes by the ocean, and you can just picture yourself. You get to the success and you sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais. Well, that wasn't how it worked for me. My story had a lot more curves and stuff in it. I grew up in construction. My dad was a general contractor and a mason contractor. I had 20 years in masonry. Growing up, my dad was a small business owner. So I always kind of related small business. I just thought of that as business. But I saw him, he wasn't really getting ahead any more than a regular job. He just had a little more time freedom and he didn't have to answer to a boss other than my mom. When I thought of business, that's what I always thought of. As I got older, I realized a business is something that's you can leverage. My dad wasn't leveraged. If he didn't go to work, he didn't get paid. When I got older, he wanted me to join the business, but I didn't. I spent 20 years in masonry and then I got a job in the post office. I became disillusioned in there. I had no time freedom. I was working all kinds of crazy hours. I started looking at other ways and real estate investing came up. I started investing in 2005 when the market was going crazy. My goal originally was just to make enough money doing fix and flips so that I could get out of the post office and just quit. That didn't quite work out that way. I started with this company in 2008. 2017, I started learning about velocity banking and financial literacy and how to create wealth creation accounts, that generational wealth thing I was talking about. And then I started shifting my mindset from fix and flips to cash flow. That's when I got into short-term rentals in 2020. What started my journey was this question came up. If I keep doing what I'm presently doing, will I end up where I want to end up? And in 2001, we had the dot-com crash. I don't know if any of you remember that, but that's the stocks and bonds were, all these dot-com businesses were just going through the roof. And a lot of them were overvaluated and they created a bubble. And then the stock market kind of crashed and they took down the whole stock market, lost like 40% of value. Well, my retirement account was tied to all that. And so was my ex-wife's at the time. Overnight, we lost 40% of our retirement. And I'm thinking, this isn't very good. Now it's going to take me 10 years to recoup this. I'm thinking right here, this system is not working for me. I started looking at other things. And a few years later, that's when I got into real estate. I actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which got me on the track. But this was my first flip I did in 2006. It was an ugly house in South Phoenix. It was in kind of a war zone, but because things were going up so fast, I still made $25,000 profit. I did everything wrong. I still made money on this flip. The problem was I got brave. Oh man, this thing works. And I went out, bought 3 houses. I bought a spec home. I bought a new build to live in. And then I bought another flip. And then I should have been listening to Warren Buffett because he was talking about this at the time. He was talking about a bubble. And the first thing I was taught is you get a team. I got this real estate agent that was doing flips. And I got all these people involved in my life. And I thought they were kind of experts because I knew nothing about real estate when I started. I was counting on their knowledge. And I'm asking them, is there a bubble? I keep hearing a bubble. Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, all these people. And I read Robert's books. I believed him. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. We're good. Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. I should have been fearful because everybody was being greedy, including myself. And I ended up losing 3 houses by 2010. Now, I just lost 3 houses and I had a choice at that point. Either I can say real estate doesn't work and I'm just going to go find another way. But by this point, I was still at the post office. I had dug a $100,000 hole. I was way worse than when I started this journey. Or I can learn to do real estate the right way because I know plenty of people that have done well in real estate. I just had the wrong training, mentors, people around me. I decided I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to find the right people and I'm going to continue. In 2008, I found Renatus, which it filled all the holes that I was lacking. They taught me about financial literacy. They taught me about business. They taught me about taxes, what to do with that money when you make money on a deal. They taught me how to find deals and do deals with none of my own money or credit. Before this, I was using banks and I was using, just like the media tells you to do, go out and buy a bank, put 20% down. This education flipped everything on its head. There was a community of investors that I could network with, and I could They could help guide me so I wouldn't make those stupid mistakes. Well, I found this house. I started with this company 3 years earlier. This was the first deal I kind of did. We had lost a house. We were living in a rental. This house came up. I used the creative financing strategies and bought this house. I did have to put a down payment, but I ended up paying, I was paying $900 a month for this house. I was paying $1,400 a month for the rental I was in. And this house was way nicer than the rental. I lived in this house, me and my family. 3 years later, we sold it, and I got a check for $120,000 in our checking account. That was after commissions, after everything. Now that kind of put me on ground zero again. It brought me almost back flush. We bought a condo for cash that we moved into, and then we started digging out, fixing my credit and stuff like that. But this house is what set me back on the right path. Now, forward 7 years in the future again. Now I should tell you why there's such a big gap is in 2011, I became a real estate agent. I thought, well, I can quit my job now and become an agent, make enough money to pay the bills, and I can still be flipping houses. Well, one, that was a bad idea. That was premature. I didn't have cash flow coming into my life enough to quit that steady job. Don't do that. I found out that being a real estate agent is a full-time job. Then all of a sudden, I'm just chasing the next commission check. I spend most of my time getting clients to sell homes to. That actually set my investing back 5-6 years at least. I did a few deals in between. It wholesaled a few, did a few flips. But this one was the first deal I did with none of my own money, none of my own credit. I actually partnered with a person that he was good at raising private funds. We did this as a subject to, which meant we took over the lady's payments. I was trying to list this house for her, but she had 9 cats. They destroyed their house. She took all the carpet out of the house. She needed money to put into this house just to make it sellable. Plus, she was 2 months behind in their payments. She was about ready to lose this to foreclosure. We stepped in. We caught her payments up. We gave her money to move down to Tucson, which is where they were going. And then we took over her mortgage for 3 months till we fixed this up and sold it. That was my first entrance into none of my own money or credit. And that kind of opened up my eyes. The next year, I got brave and I bought this baby. Is this beautiful? My wife saw this house and she says, oh no, you did not buy that. This is downtown Phoenix in Garfield District, 2 miles from downtown. But I had a vision for this house. I figured there was a good $30,000 to $40,000 to flip it. That was the intention. This is what the house looks like today. I changed my strategy. It turned out we did a nice job with the rehab, but the neighborhood was preventing me from getting the price I wanted. I was probably only going to make $10,000 on this house. I thought I just spent 6 years of my life fixing this thing up. I switched over to short-term rentals because the neighborhood doesn't matter so much. As long as people feel safe, and I've never had anyone complain about the neighborhood other than it looks a little sketchy. But this is what it looks like now. Here's some before and after pictures. On the left, there's a casita behind the main house. I rent both of them out. On the left, that's before. On the right is after. This was the main house. This is looking from the dining room into the kitchen. And this is what it looks like today. This was the backyard. The casita's on the left there. This is looking out from the bedroom window of the house. And this is the backyard today. Here's some numbers on that deal. It was $185,000 purchase price, $5,000 down payment. I did put that money down myself. So technically it isn't none of my own money or credit. We used hard money loan plus a private investor for the rehab. It took $100,000 in rehab costs, which went over my budget by $30,000+. We changed the strategy from selling it to short-term rentals. And then we refied it into a 3.5% fixed 30-year mortgage. Now that was the investor rate. If I would have been living there, I could have got a 3%. And then I had a positive cash flow of $2,500 a month. Who would like that deal? You know, that's pretty good money. $2,500 a month. That would set some people free. And that was just one deal. Let me know if you really like it, because this is actually for sale. I could show you how to get about $3,400 a month cash flow with this deal. Here's another Warren Buffett quote. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And that's where 90% of Americans are right now. How do most folks get into real estate? And this is where it gets really confusing. Most people, like I started reading books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Then I went to seminars and boot camps. The gurus, that's their model. You go to seminars, they upsell you to the next one, and then they upsell you to coaching. Well, that's how I got started. What about you? Put in the chat how you got started, or if you've even done any of that yet. The trouble with the gurus, it was constant upselling. They always hold back the important stuff so that you need the next step. And they're just trying to milk as much money out of you as possible. Well, I got real sick of that model. But this is the book that I'm talking about, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And he just kind of changed everything I believed about money at that point. It really made me think that I could do this investing thing. What I learned in his book, the rules of money had changed. And if I was going to earn my freedom from the post office, I had to start playing by a different set of rules. There's two rules. It's for 90% of Americans, and then there's the rules of business and real estate. You just have to learn what that is. This is what the media and the schools and everybody tells you to do. Go to school, get a good job, save for retirement, and then someday, when you're old and probably close to death, you get to sit on a beach until you die. I'm a little sarcastic. So you could go back to college or go to college. But this is where most people do. They think to be successful, you have to go to college. All that does is load them down with debt. I mean, these are nice schools, Stanford, Princeton, Harvard, $200,000 debt when you get done, but just go to regular school. You're probably going to end up $100,000 in debt before you even go to get that job that's maybe $50,000 a year. You're going to have a hard time paying this back. So that's a common path for the 99%, employee or self-employed. That's what they want you to do. They want you to participate in the 40-40-40 plan. You work 40 hours for 40 years, and then you retire on 40% of what you're used to making. That plan sucks, and it doesn't work for 95% of Americans. Look at this chart. It's from the Department of Health and Human Services. 54% at age 65 are dependent on friends, family, government. 36% are still working. 5% are dead. That's 95% right there. And 4% are financially independent by the government's standards. That is $3,000 a month. Who wants to sign up for that plan? Even when you throw Social Security on top of that, $5,000 a month, that's not enough to even cover emergencies. And then the wealthy 1%. If you want to be wealthy, that's where you have to go. This is what they tell you to do. There's two methods, investing for accumulation or investing for cash flow. This is the model that most of us are stuck in. We acquire cash through our job. You spend it every year to live on. If you listen to Dave Ramsey, you're supposed to tuck 40% away in a 401k. But the reality is you go broke and die. The problem with accumulation is how much money is enough. They said 60% of retirees, that's what they're worried about right there. How much money is enough? How long am I going to live? Think in your head, is there a monthly number that you think would be enough? 5,000 a month? 10,000 a month? I'll go to this next slide. How much do you want a month? If you have 300,000 in savings at age 65, annual income from that is 12,000 a year, about $1,000 a month. And that's assuming a 3% average annual inflation rate, which we're double that plus, and a 5% rate of return in your retirement account. A lot of 401ks aren't getting that. These numbers are actually skewed a little bit. If you save $1 million in your account, that's about 40,000 a year or 3,350 a month. Doesn't sound like a lot for $1 million. A million, 1.5 million. That's 5,000 a month. 2 million would be about 7,500 a month. Okay, think of that. $2 million, 7,500 a month. Because I'd want 10,000 a month. I want to be able to enjoy my life, go travel, do things. That's what I want. This is how the wealthy got that way. Here's the wealthy 1%. 10% are doctors and attorneys. 10% are CEOs or presidents of large companies. 5% are super salespeople. 1% are lottery winners or they inherited their money. But the overwhelming part of this pie, 74%, is business owners and real estate investors. If you want to become wealthy, that is your best shot. If you're throwing a dart, that's your ticket right there. The common path for the 1% is business owner and investor. And the cool part is you don't have to go back to school for that. So cool, because I didn't go to college. Why business ownership? Why did that make such a big part? Well, one, you get to build your own dream, not someone else's. You get to set your own schedule. You build massive income in your business. You leverage your time by hiring employees. Then you're making money on them. You turn your life into a tax deduction. I think that's probably the biggest thing here. And you create a major asset. A lot of business owners, if they set it up right, they can sell that business for a lot of money when they retire. And you build cash flow. Because really what you're selling, when you sell a business, you're selling cash flow. That's what makes it worth money. This is what you're doing when you're investing for cash flow. You acquire cash flow through a business or whatever. What you spend this month is replaced by what you earn next month. It's an abundance. It's not a scarcity mindset. Then you can pass it on to the next generation. Let's play the what if game. Let's just say over the next 5 years, you buy 5 houses, 1 house a year, and turn it into a rental. In the beginning, you're probably not going to make a lot of money on it. $400 a month cash flow. If you're not making at least that, you shouldn't be buying that rental. But I can show you a trick later that will make every house cash flow. Then let's say you pay them all off in 10 to 15 years. And I will share a secret. Secret number 2 is how to get rid of debt quick. That's totally very possible. And let's just say your rent is $1,500 a month. Say in 10 to 15 years, all these are paid for. You're getting $1,500 a month cash flow. That is cash in your pocket. That's $7,500 a month cash flow. Now, remember the chart that we talked about? It would take $2 million in a savings account or retirement account to create that $7,500 a month. Now, is that easier than accumulating $2 million, buying 5 rentals and making them cash flow, paying them down? I think so. How much do you want a month? Would $7,500 a month be good? What if you bought 10 rentals, $15,000 a month? Pay them all off. I have a mentor investor that he owns 60 houses, and he's using this strategy. He pays off 1 a month. His cash flow is, he's making over $600,000 a year. He's making great cash flow, and he's paying off a house every month. In 5 years, all those will be paid off. As an employee, you're building a nest egg, but on the right here, the wealthy, they're buying chicken farms. As you eat some of these eggs, it keeps laying eggs. They're getting replaced. Real estate, we think it's an ideal investment. That's an acronym. It stands for income. You can create either passive income or massive income. Massive thinking, doing flips, short-term rentals, things like that. Or passive income is just, you could have very passive notes, tax liens, things like that. That's just mailbox money or just a plain rental. The next, the D stands for deductions. You can eliminate your tax liability by having enough rentals and enough deductions. On paper, each rental loses about $8,000 a year on paper. Even though you're getting that cash flow, you get depreciation, all kinds of stuff. You're making money by deductions. You're saving a ton in taxes. E stands for equity. Equity is how much you owe to what the house is worth. Equity is that thing in the middle. Appreciation. As you pay down the debt and the market increases the value of the house, you're going to get that appreciation. And then leverage. You can leverage. When you buy real estate, you can go to the bank, you can put $10,000 down and buy that house. You can't leverage stocks, bonds, crypto, other stuff like that. Then there's always the supply and demand part of real estate. As long as there's people moving into this country, they're going to need a place to live. According to this chart, USA Today, by 2042, they're expecting this country to have 400 million. That's up 70 million more than we have right now. Housing is going to be an issue. We're already short on housing. You probably noticed a lot of apartments and stuff going up. So that'll keep real estate in demand. What have we learned so far? There is a better way than the 40-40-40 plan. You don't have to do it that way. There's another way. You can opt out of a rigged system. Cash flow beats accumulation, hands down. And if you want to be wealthy, do what the wealthy do. The wealthy own businesses and real estate. And then financial literacy is essential. That is the key to going from where you are to where you want to be. Now, I want to share a few people with you that have used this system. Now, Dane Clark, when I met him, he was super shy. I'll just read what he says here. I think I was on the 3rd job in a row and the company went belly up. Even after finding Renatus, I told myself I just wanted to do real estate. He says I was really shy and I had a hard time applying the education in the beginning. So I started marketing. I will share that with you. There is a thing in this company, we can share this education with others and get paid for it. I remember getting that first check. That was the most money I had ever made in my life. And it just grew and grew from there. He said, we picked up 195 properties. I'm still holding 51 of those. And I think last year we're able to pick up a little more than a property a week. I go buy a house more than I go to the grocery store. Is that amazing? Says, I absolutely love what I was able to learn and do. And I've helped so many people along the way. Renatus is more than just getting educated. It's developing as a person, building the lifestyle that you want. Right now, he's traveling around the country with his RV and his wife and 3 kids. So it's given him the time freedom, financial freedom to do what he wants. He did most of this with contract for deed, which is a pretty cool strategy. Very passive. Here's secret number 1. The investor with the most strategies wins. How not to be a one-trick pony. By that, I mean, you don't want to have just one strategy. You want to know multiple. The more you know, the more you make. The strategy that fits your risk level and personality, how do you figure that out? I'll help. And having the right mentors is key. Remember my story? I had the wrong mentors and I lost a lot of money. When I thought of one trick pony, I thought of Chuck Norris. He's always kind of a hero of mine. I read a book, Zen Solutions to Real Problems. I read it years ago. In the book, they talk about how Chuck has black belts in several martial art disciplines. So he has Taekwondo, karate, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, kung fu do, tang soo do. Those are Korean arts. My question to you is, by knowing all those things, do you think that makes him a better fighter? I think so. And if you've ever watched Walker, Texas Ranger, in there, you'll see him mix it up. Like he'll be kicking somebody like Taekwondo, and then he'll use joint manipulation like jiu-jitsu, and then he'll throw somebody like judo, and he mixes them up. Whatever situation he's in, he has an answer for that. And it makes you a pretty awesome fighter. The same is true with real estate. If you only know one strategy, like wholesaling or flipping a house, when you get a deal that's a little different, like the acquisition strategy, the subject to, if I didn't know how to do that, I would have had to pass on that deal. She couldn't sell her house. She couldn't really afford to sell it at a loss because she actually owed more than it was worth. But we made that deal work because we knew different strategies. Oh, since we're on Chuck, I got to tell the Chuck Norris joke. What do you call a chicken that knows Kung Fu? It's Cluck Norris. I know, that's corny. I'm a dad, so I get to tell dad jokes. Why don't more people invest? Probably the first reason is lack of knowledge. If you don't know what to do, it's kind of hard to know what to do. Knowledge is the first one. The second one, and I hear this a lot, I used to use this excuse a lot, is lack of time. But really, it's just really an excuse. People say, I'm working full time and I got kids and a wife and I golf on weekends. Well, it's not really a lack of time. Everybody has the same amount of time. It's just how you prioritize that time. If you want to do something special, if you want to change your family history forever, you may have to give up golf. You may have to give up TV, at least for a time, until you get this business operational. You don't have to do it forever, but you are going to have to allocate time in different places. Does that sound fair? The third reason is lack of money or credit. I use that one a lot. I always said I would invest in real estate if I had the money. I ended up getting divorced in 2004, and we ended up selling the house in 2005, and we got a check for $140,000. Me and my ex split. We each got $70,000. I used that money to start investing with. I didn't know what I was doing. That money was gone in less than 2 years, and I was $100,000 in the hole. What's that saying? A fool and his money are soon parted. That was me. But once you learn how to use your relationship capital to raise money out there, it just doesn't have to be your money. It doesn't have to be your credit. There's other ways around that. And then the biggest one probably is fear. Fear is really just fear of the unknown. If you've never done it, it's scary. Every time I do a deal that isn't like I've done before, it's scary. But knowledge takes away fear. And also, if you have a good support system around you, that can take away fear. If you can find somebody that's already done what you're doing and you can follow them, do you think that would take away fear? if you're just walking in their footsteps, doesn't that make it a lot easier and lower that threshold of fear? It sure did for me. Alice Walker says, what the mind doesn't understand, it fears. It's just natural. Our brain is wired to protect us. That's the job of our mind. This is the founder of Renatus. This is Bob Snyder, and I think he is a genius. From the outhouse to the penthouse. He grew up, his dad had some issues, kind of an alcoholic, ended up in jail. He was actually a lawyer, and he said he was a very good lawyer, but he had all those other issues. He'd do good, and then he would crash and disappear. He said the best thing that ever happened to him was he ended up in jail, and he helped straighten him out. But Bob didn't grow up with a silver spoon. When he was in his 20s, he got married, and he had all these dreams for his new family, but all he found himself was working this 60-hour weeks and not seeing his family. A friend invited him to lunch and gave him this book. His friend wanted him to join a MLM, but I don't think he did at that time, but he did read this book. And he said it changed his mind from why me to why not me. It just opened up his possibilities. From that point, he's become a multimillionaire. He's been investing in real estate for 30 years, and he wants to show other people how to do it too. That's his mission. We believe Renatus has the solution. And isn't real estate just a big puzzle? The more pieces you have, the easier it is. We say we have the epic solution: education, properties, income, and community. Who are we? Renatus is Latin for rebirth. Sometimes it takes an overwhelming breakdown to have an undeniable breakthrough. Renatus is the premier real estate investing education company in the country. We have local real estate investor communities from coast to coast. This is a picture of our national conference. What has Renatus done? The one thing that's totally unique in the business is when he started, he was selling the guru style. He was selling education through seminars and weekend boot camps and all that. He noticed that 80% of people weren't applying any of the education. Actually, more like 90%, he said. He had a friend, a PhD in education, San Diego State. And he asked him, he says, I'm giving great information. These people are really teaching a lot, but nobody's applying it. He says, you need the ISD system, instructional system design. Bob says, well, what's that? He says, every college in the country uses it. It's where you take a high school kid and you teach them in layers until they become proficient at it. And when they're done in 4 years, they can go and apply that, what they just learned, and they have a job. Well, you can apply the same thing to real estate. You build it up layer by layer. You learn on each step so that when you're done, you can do this thing, fix and flip or whatever. Then he set up all his classes in curriculum paths using this ISD process. He sought out trained investors that were doing a certain strategy, and they became practitioner instructors. He has a rule: if they're not currently doing that strategy, they can't teach it. Then he developed live and online classes. Back when I learned, we had to go to a hotel 3 times a year. Classes would happen. We would have to take off work and we'd go to class for a week. It was kind of tough. Then he created what we believe the best before and after support systems in the industry. All these investor communities that we can network and build each other up. For me, that was probably the biggest thing that helped me. What have we done? Since our opening in January 11, 2011, we've introduced tens of thousands of individuals to the subject of wealth creation through real estate investing. Our courses make learning fun and flexible. This is an online class with Mark Kohler. We have seasoned real estate investor coaches who work one-on-one with select students to raise student outcomes. That was Coach Galvin. Our systems help investors create and follow a plan to reduce risk and increase profits. We've built local communities of real estate investors who support each other to success. We currently have Renatus students in all 50 states. We created an affiliate marketing opportunity to help students earn more money to do real estate deals. That's also unique in the industry. I'm not going to talk about that in this, but I will talk about it a little bit later. If you're interested, just message me and we can go over that private. He's also won 7-time winner best of state with online education, with workbooks, with study books. He's won a whole bunch of awards with his education. But most importantly, we teach our students business and financial strategies and how to complete real estate transactions, make money, and create an inheritance for future generations. Our first product we have is called the Essentials. I call that the one where you keep your money. It's wealth management, velocity banking, that strategy on how to eliminate debt quickly, tax and legal day 1 and 2, how to save money on taxes, how to set up entities. There's so much packed in there. Self-directed IRAs. This is the secret to raising all the money you want to do deals with. There is $27 trillion in retirement accounts, and a lot of them are in these self-directed IRAs. Understanding credit. Then you get into the real estate foundations part. Negotiations, deal of the decade, how to find them every week. Real estate red flags. Chris Albin is the instructor. He shares with you how we learn from our mistakes, right? You learn more from your mistakes than your successes. He tells you about some of his failures and how to avoid those. And then creative acquisitions. This is where I learned how to do deals with none of my own money or none of my credit. With the Essentials, you get group coaching included in that product. Gavin is a real estate investor and a coach, and he's now a real estate broker, but he's been investing for over 17 years, hundreds of transactions, funny guy. He will dive down every week. There's a hour-long webinar that you can log into, and he teaches a subject, then you do questions and answers for about 30 minutes. You can bring your deals to him in this group setting. It's a great way to learn and find out what other people are doing in other markets. Instead of seminars, we do study groups. Like for Essentials, we have study groups every week. You just sign up for them and you go to these study groups. It really helps enhance your education. You go through the education, you go to the coaching, you go to these study groups. It really fills in the gaps. Here's Bill Omi. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he said he was a full-time real estate investor for 20 years. He said he invested thousands of dollars in education, seminars, and boot camps. He thought he knew the business. He says, when I found Renata's education and community, I was skeptical, thinking, what can you possibly teach me? But he soon realized that he didn't know what he didn't know. Now he builds his businesses with the latest models and strategies in the industry. I heard him talk about when he went to a class with Mark Kohler and just a tax strategy, he realized how many thousands of dollars he overpaid in taxes. He said it kind of made him sick. But he was a very experienced investor, and even the Essentials taught him things. We also have one-on-one coaching, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Our second product we have is called the Profits. That is a business training. It's for business owners and startups. We have sales, communication, development, integrated business growth and development. That's taught by Mark Kohler. How to set up business plans, marketing plans, how to test to make sure it's a viable idea right from the get-go. He says some people spend 3 to 4 years on a business just to realize that this thing will never make them any money. So he has a very quick test on how to see if this is even a viable business idea. Here's business and velocity banking, how to use that strategy to pay off your business or your real estate. Business automation, how to replace yourself in your business. This is building your business online, day 1 and 2. That's where I got into funnels, sales funnels, and marketing online. This whole webinar is a product of those classes. These are the instructors for Profits. Ron Williams, he is a world-class bodybuilder. He talks about the mindset it takes to be a champion. He was 7-time Mr. Universe, 7-time Mr. Olympia, all natural. Eric Counts, Rob Sperry talks about social media, Christian George, velocity banking. Woody Woodward is all about the sales and communication. Troy Dunn, bringing media presence to your company. Mark Kohler talking about business, and Steve Larson is the online business guy. He used to work for ClickFunnels. Here's Mark Kohler talking about the integrated business growth and development, talking about the business plan, strategic plan, and marketing plan. He actually has a workbook for this class. Ron Williams, master bodybuilder, master yourself, your mind, your body, and your life. How much of this stuff is mindset? In fact, every time you do a deal, you have to master your mind to get real far in this. A lot of our training is about mindset, sales. To be a successful real estate investor, you need the whole package. Steve Larson, these were 3 of my favorite classes in this Profits. Talks about offer creation, learning how to select your dream customer. Now I want to talk about how Bob set up this instructional system design. These are the learning paths to help you master specific strategies. each learning path has core classes that pertain to the strategy of the class, like fix and flip. Then there's bonus classes that tie into the strategy. By the time you go through all of them, and these are day-long classes, you're ready to go do that strategy. When you have the coaching and the study groups and the community, they'll fill in any holes. Plus, you're going to learn stuff when you actually start applying it. Everything is here. I'm just going to go through the strategies real quick. These are the 11 learning paths: wholesaling, lease options, and auctions. Some of these are acquisition strategies. Some are strategies on how to create cash flow, fix and flip. You'll notice in this, there's rehabbing day 1 and 2, land development. It's not just fix and flip. Rehabbing is more complex. Land development, you're being the big boys in that one. You have to develop streets, easements, all kinds of things. Buy and hold. Most people know about buy and hold. If you don't want to manage it yourself, how to manage property managers. You have to be involved no matter what, because if you don't pay attention, it will go away. And that's what most people do. They think, oh, I just buy a rental and it runs on autopilot. Nothing does that. Your business will disintegrate on you if you don't pay attention to it. Short-term rentals. Now, this is a newer track. This is only a few years old. I was going to sell that property on 15th Street to this. I just crammed. I studied this in like 3 weeks and then turned that into a rental. How cool was it that I had this available to jump into the strategy? Multifamily, if you want to buy apartment or just fourplexes or 100-door apartment complexes, it's all in here. Commercial, we're one of the few companies around that have commercial. This is what I want to get into. I just haven't yet. No tenants, toilets, or termites. This whole track is all about passive income. Notes, liens, and deeds. This is mailbox money. Seller finance, notes, day 1 and 2, seller financing, and subject to contract for deed. Dan Clark made most of his cash flow was contract for deed. There's market analysis, then private and hard money, how to raise those, how to find them. Retiring in real estate. Eventually, you're going to want to phase out. If you're in a strategy where you're an active investor, you're going to want to go more passive, or maybe you want to sell your business. And that's what 1031 exchanges are. You can sell all of one and trade up for another. Then there's wealth acceleration. This one blew my mind. This is a newer one as well. Understanding your investor ID. It teaches you about your personality and your risk tolerance, kind of show you what strategy you should go into. I was doing fix and flips for years, and I realized I like doing work myself because I was a craftsman. I really have a hard time letting someone else do the flip, but it's hard to scale that. I learned that about myself. This class will show you all those things, and it really shortcuts a lot of your learning curve. There is the financial strategies, wealth acceleration, day 1 and 2, how to really ramp up your cash flow fast, raising money and partnerships. That's a big deal. And this is the section where he shows you how to create your family bank and wealth creation accounts that we will get into. Business management. This is if you want to have a business or you want to create like a short-term rental business. Whatever you're doing, the fix and flip teachers were doing over 100 flips a year. Do you think they needed a business structure for that? That's 2 flips a week. That's nuts. In, I think, 8 years, they did over 800 flips. They're the biggest investor in Idaho. Can you imagine? It's crazy. Short sales and foreclosures. These are great acquisition strategies. In fact, you don't see a whole lot right now, but in a few years, these are probably going to come back. This is very cyclical. I would like to share a little bit about Jordan Booth. Now, she's just a young girl. She was only 21 when she found Renata. She said, I was going to college trying to figure out what my passion was. I figured out that real estate was a key to wealth, so I took a semester off school to focus on my first deal. I put multiple offers in and finally got a deal on a duplex. We have 3 couples in this house, but my mortgage is paid by their rent. We've learned how we can pay this off in 10 years, and I couldn't have done any of this without the education and community. I think that's amazing. She's 21 years old and figuring this stuff out already. I am so jealous. Let me know. Do you think that's cool? Somebody that young learning how to do this stuff? This is a quote from Jim Rohn. He is big into mindset. If you will change, everything will change for you. I've heard said that Renatus is really just personal growth classes in a real estate wrapper, which is very true. I mean, you'll learn a lot. This is Allison Palmgren. She actually quit a six-figure job. She says, it sounds crazy, but I felt like I was trapped. I put in my 6 weeks notice. During that time, she got her education with Renatus. She did her first fix and flip 3 months later. Since then, she's done 7 flips. She has 2 more that she's working on. She says, I've learned how to become the bank and lend money out of my self-directed retirement plan. Things I never knew were possible. Because of this education, I have the freedom to do the things I always wanted. This is one of my favorite people in the world, Mother Teresa. She says, the first step to becoming is to will it. You have to take that first step. On to secret number 2, how to recover the money the IRS and the banks took from you without your permission. This is about how to go from a life of default to a life of design. And it's really not how much you make, it's how much you keep that's important. Then we will discuss a little bit about the difference between good debt and bad debt. Not all debt is bad. The cash flow quadrant is something that Robert Kiyosaki wrote about in his book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. On the left side of this chart, it's for the employees and self-employed, and they are trading their time for dollars. A lot of people think that having a small business is the way to wealth, but a lot of times if they're not leveraged, if they're the person working in that business, they just own a job. They're still trading their time for dollars. It's not until you get to that right side of the quadrant that you become a business owner or an investor that you start leveraging yourself. A business owner can hire employees, and then he leverages their time and he can go on vacation and still get paid. The investor, he's leveraging his money. He's going out there buying cash flowing businesses and properties, and he doesn't have to get out of bed in the morning. That money still keeps coming in. That's where we want to get, is on the right side, don't you think? Put in the chat, which side would you rather be on, the left side or the right side? I want to be on the right side. This is how you can recoup all the money from the IRS. As an employee, most W-2 people, they only get about 15 deductions in their taxes. But if you're a business owner, you have over 400 deductions. Here's a little chart to explain it. Say we both make $100,000, a W-2 employee and a business owner. Their income is the same, $100,000. The W-2 person, they don't even see their taxes come out of their check. It's gone before they even get their check. About 30%, $30,000 goes out to taxes. Their expenses are $70,000 for the year, and they have zero money left over. That's not a real good business model. If I was buying a business, I would not invest in that business. Now, a business owner, he can make the same $100,000, but he gets to expense. Mr. Taxman doesn't show up for him. He doesn't pay taxes till the end of the year, sometimes 6 months after. He can defer his taxes. So he has access to that $100,000 for a lot longer. Now he can have his $70,000 expenses, and then after that, he has $30,000 left. So that is his AGI, his adjusted gross income. That's the part he pays taxes on. At the 30% tax rate, he's only paying $10,000. He has $20,000 left over. That's just a very rounded figures, but you get what I'm saying there? Just having a business saves you a ton in taxes. In fact, most of the people I know that are making $500,000 and more in real estate, they pay less than 10% in taxes. Mark Kohler, we talked about him. He's in the Essentials. He wrote a book on how to start up a business. He has all these QR codes with tons of videos, and he writes from step 1 to getting that business up and running to see if it's viable. It's a great book. I recommend it. An employee mindset, they only have 2 currencies, money and time. Same with a small business owner. They work with 2 currencies. Now, a rich mindset, wealthy mindset, they have 5 currencies. Time being number 1 because it's non-renewable. When it's gone, it's gone. Knowledge, relationships, because the more people you know, the more people you can leverage. Credit, and by that I mean credibility. If you have good credibility with people, you can leverage them as well. And then money is last. It's a renewable resource. If you have the first 4 currencies, money is no problem. Here is a quote from Henry Ford. It is well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. The more I study this banking, I totally agree with his quote. So where are you today? If you're an employee, most employees spend 33% of their income on taxes, 33% on interest. and a third they get to live on. So $100,000, they're only living on $33,000. Now, if you are a business owner, this is what you can do with correct strategies and knowledge and a little bit of time and effort. You can get your taxes down to 10%, your interest down to 10%. Then you have 80% of that left over to live on. So would you rather be living on $33,000 a year or $80,000 a year? You're doing the same amount of work. I want to go for the 80,000. What is velocity banking? Now we're going to switch over to how to get rid of debt quickly. We talked about taxes and where they confiscate that kind of money and so how to get that back. But what about the interest? How do we get that back from the banks? How do we not pay so much in car loans and mortgages and credit card interest? Well, that's what this strategy is all about. A strategy to pay down debt at an accelerated rate without paying any more out of pocket. Eliminate debt, improve cash flow. And the beauty about the strategy is it isn't our money. We're using the bank's money to get rid of our debt. It's pretty cool. I'll have to explain a little bit first the difference between a loan and a line. A loan, when you get a car loan, a mortgage, they are one-way instruments. They're amortized, so they have a set amount of payments and they have a set price that you pay every month. Trouble is, they're one way. So if you pay an extra payment one month, you can't get access to that money. You have to pay that loan off or refinance it to get your equity out, to get your money out. Now, a line is different. That's like a credit card. Say you have $5,000 on your credit card. If you put $1,000 on your credit card, you have access to $1,000 now. You can go out and spend $1,000. So it's two ways. You can go in and out on a line. And that is what we're going to show you how to do. Lines are simple interest calculated daily. Some, like HELOCs, are calculated monthly. Typically, they're interest only, and you pay bills like a checking account. You also use these as a savings account. So think of it as a checking and savings. Here's what you do by banking by default. Let's just say you have $4,000 coming in, and then you have $3,100 going out in expenses. So normally you get your $4,000 a month. What do you do with it? You just put it into your checking account. That's what the banks tell us to do, right? The banks tell us, well, you need a checking account, a savings account, and this is how you pay your bills. So we do, like we're good little children, we do what we're told. The trouble with that is every month you have $900 left over, which sounds good, but most people are putting that into a 401k or their savings account. So by the end of the month, they're still at zero cash flow. We don't like zero cash flow, are we? Because we're entrepreneurs. We want a surplus. Let's talk about why the banks want us to do this. When we put money into the savings account, they get to take that money and then they get to lend it out to others. So they're giving you less than 1% in your savings account. It's usually 0.01, but just for the sake of this, say 1%. And then they loan it out to somebody over here for their car loan, or they loan it back to you for a car loan at 6%. So how much are they making on that? Are they making 5%? That's what a lot of people say. But if I say I have a pencil in my hand, if I buy this pencil for $1 and then I sell it to you for $6, that's $5 difference. I just made a 500% return on my money. Same with banks. They make 500% return. But they're not giving you 1%, are they? It's really like 0.01%. That goes from 500% to 5,000%. Then there's a thing called fractionalized banking. Every dollar the bank brings in, they can loan it out to 7 different people for the same dollar. Now it goes from 5,000% to 35,000% return on their money. Is that crazy? That's like loan shark interest. That's why the banks have the biggest buildings in town. I want to own a bank someday. Now let's talk about how we can do it. That's the rigged system. This is the unrigged system. We're still making the same amount of money, $4,000 coming into our checking account, and we still have $3,100 in bills to pay out. But let's do one extra step. Instead of it going into the checking, we're going to put it into our line of credit. We take it from our checking into our line of credit. That doesn't seem like a lot. What's that going to do? Well, let's talk about that. Let's say we have a mortgage over here And this is just for example purposes. Say we have a $300,000 mortgage, an $1,800 a month payment. We just got this house. We have $300,000 we owe on it. Let's say, for sake of argument, we have this brand new line of credit over here. Say it's $15,000. We take $10,000 out of our brand new line of credit, pay it over to the mortgage, and we make a principal only payment. Instead of owing $300,000, we now owe $290,000. Do we owe any more debt? No, we owe $290 over here on the mortgage, and we owe $10,000 on our lines. We still owe $300,000. But how is that going to help us? Let's look at the next page. Now we pay our expenses. Our expenses are still $3,100. We just paid $10,000 on this after day one. If we paid it a normal schedule, it would take us 31 months, 2.5 years to get it down to $290,000. So in one day, we just paid down 31 months of interest. Let's see what, in effect, what we're doing with this money. We have $10,000 line of credit. We put $4,000 in on that first month, and we pay out our $3,100 in bills. After the first month, our line of credit is down to $9,100, down $900, which is cool. The next month, we pay down the $4,000 at $5,100, and we pay $3,100 in bills. Now we're down to $8,200. You continue that process down, and within 10 months, we have this line completely paid off. And look what we do then. The line is empty again. After 10 months, we take another $10,000, make a principal only payment on our mortgage. But 10 months had elapsed, so we had to pay 10 payments on that mortgage. Look at what happened there. In 10 months, we paid $18,000 in payments, but our principal only went down $4,000. So we paid $14,000 in interest. Now we are down, after 10 months, we're down to $286, and we just put another $10,000 to the principal. Now we're down to $276,000 on that $300,000 mortgage. How long has it taken to do that? It's only taking 10 months. In 10 months, we got it down to $276. If we paid the normal payments, it would have taken us 68 months, 5.5 years to do what we did in 10 months. Do you see the power in this? Now, I know what some of you are saying. I have a mortgage and I have a line payment. How is that going to work? But we don't have a line payment, do we? You have a $10,000 line, so your payment is like $300 a month, okay? We don't have that because we've been putting all our income on that line. So we put $4,000 a month on that line. Did we satisfy that $300 payment? Yeah, we don't have to make a payment to our line. And we're paying it off in 10 months. The bank loves us. So our credit score goes up. We look like super savers to the bank. Does this make sense to you? Are you getting what I'm putting down? That's how powerful it is. And you just keep doing this every month or every 10 months, you pay that line down, do another $10,000 payment. We call that chunking. It's a very powerful strategy. You can do this with car loans, with credit cards. When I filled out my budget, I was bleeding money, $500 a month negative. I implemented this strategy. Within a month, I was $500 a month positive. I switched that over, $1,000 a month. I got a HELOC on my house. I paid off all my credit cards. I put them on the line and saved myself $1,000 a month. And we started using that line of credit. Just within a week, I was saving $1,000 a month. Is that powerful? Now we're going to play the what if game again. A friend of mine is a lender, and he saw a problem with our velocity banking strategy with a HELOC. Most HELOCs are only 10-year instruments, and if the economy tanks, the banks were known for shutting them off or reducing how much you could borrow. He didn't like that. He went to his company and said, I want to create this new product that would help investors. At first, they thought he was nuts, but he did this. He made a 30-year first position line of credit that doesn't go away after 10 years. It is a 30-year fixed instrument, and it's incredible. I'm going to show you what happens if you use this line. Say you buy a rental with a 30-year first position line of credit. He calls it his all-in-one loan. Now you're using this as a savings and a checking account. You're using this line. You don't have a mortgage payment. You just have this line on it now. You have to have a 720 credit score. You have to have 20% down, and it's got to be cash. So you have to have means to do this loan. But if you have the means, holy cow, how powerful is that? Now it's a 30-year rate, and it's 5 years fixed, and then it switches to an index. Right now it's about 8%. Now let's say you got a $200,000 line. You bought a house for $250,000 or whatever, and you got it for $200,000. So it's interest only. Your payment would be about $1,500 a month. Let's say you're receiving $2,000 a month in rent payment every month. You just take that $2,000, put it right on the line. Do you have to make that line payment? Do you have to pay that $1,500 to the bank? No, you satisfied it. So it doesn't affect your cash flow at all. Now you pay out what expenses do you have in a rental? You have insurance and taxes. The renter's paying everything else. This thing's cash flowing like crazy. You're making $1,800 a month cash flow on a regular rental. Most regular rentals, you're lucky to make $200 a month. Is that cool or what? So no payment for the line is needed. The deposit, your rent satisfies the payment. The amount of credit on the line is not affected by the economy. If you start with this $200,000 line, it stays $200,000 for 10 years, and then it decreases steadily for the next 20. It affects your drawability. Say 2 years from the time you get it, the market crashes, the house is worth half, you still have a line of credit worth $200,000. They don't take it away. That's powerful. It can be used over and over. Say you pay this line off in the first 5 years. You have that money available, that line of credit to go invest and buy other houses with. And the big part is every rental can cash flow now. That is so cool. Put in the chat if you think that's a powerful strategy. Let's talk about creating your velocity banking plan. The first thing you have to do is create a budget. You have to find out where the money's going. You got to see how much money coming in and how much money is going out. The second thing you do is you identify your top drains on your cash flow. When I did my budget, we got different quotes for our car insurance, our phone bills. You know how you have subscriptions? We got rid of a bunch of them we weren't even using. We ended up saving about $200 a month in expenses just by looking at our budget. And then you identify an emergency reserve. If you want to start investing in real estate, you should have at least 3 to 6 months set aside. This is all getting your finances on solid ground. The fourth thing is that you pick your velocity banking tool, your account. You can use a HELOC. I use a credit card a lot of times because right now I don't own a house. I'm just selling one. I don't have a line of credit. I don't have a HELOC. Then you open that account and you start using it as your velocity banking account. And you just keep using that chunking method on all your bills until they're all gone. You keep repeating the cycle for additional debts or investments. Easy peasy. Why don't more people do this? This sounds powerful, right? One, they don't know about it. Many banks discourage it. Mainstream media doesn't understand it. Financial advisors never heard of it. Dave Ramsey doesn't teach it. Susie Orman didn't write about it. Mom and dad didn't do it. Your broke cousin said not to. Bottom line is they fear it. Next, I want to share a story with you about Regina Lums. She used this strategy to get out of a very dark place. She got divorced. She lives in Hawaii, so she was in an expensive market. After my divorce, I was taking care of my kids alone on a teacher's salary. She started using her credit cards to make ends meet. Pretty soon, she was maxed out. She said she couldn't sleep or function. She was about to file bankruptcy when she found out about velocity banking. With the combination of the information and the support of the community, I was able to pay off $40,000 in 6 months. That was such a relief for me. I was back to functioning and enjoying life and have since been able to boost my retirement and obtain 10 fix and flips, 9 of them acting as a passive investor, using the same strategy I did to pay off my debt. I can't find the words for my gratitude. My life has turned around completely. Now that's a powerful story. She was about ready to file bankruptcy, and then she got rid of $40,000 in debt in 6 months. Holy cow. I have a budget here, but anyone that wants it, just let me know and I'll ship this over to you. This is the first thing you have to do. You got to write down all your money coming in and out. Dave Ramsey, he said, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. I don't agree with everything Dave Ramsey teaches, but I do agree with that. Now, Garrett Reed, he has an interesting story too. He says, I chose to join Renatus because I had an epiphany one day that I needed a mentor, and I started searching. I found a few groups here and there. They didn't quite have the full package. And then I found Renatus. It was like the whole world had opened up. So it was amazing. The strategies they were teaching me. There's nugget after nugget after nugget. Velocity banking. Holy cow. How I can pay off a house in 5 to 7 years. Holy cow, I can save a massive amount of money on taxes. Holy cow, I can buy someone else's house, not using my credit or my own money. A month in, I got my first fix and flip. A couple weeks later after that, I got my second fix and flip. Then a month or two after that, I got my third. When you have the right education and the right support, amazing things can happen. That's all I got to say. We teach you how to reduce risk. That's the bottom line. We have the financial knowledge. We teach you all these things, and it really empowers you. Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. Napoleon Hill said that. Persistence is powerful. I'm testament to that. I struggled for years learning how to do this. I mean, I crashed and burned in 2008. So I would say I have persistence. I stuck it out. Now we are on to secret number 3. Savers are losers. How to keep your savings safe from the banks and the government. This is also a way to keep your savings safe from failing banks. This is a way to accelerate results from investing. This outperforms IRAs and 401ks, plus it's safe from the government overreach. And how to create generational wealth. Here are some threats to your savings. The stock market, which right now is volatile as all heck. Most people have most of their retirement savings in their 401k, and most of them are tied to the stock market. So if there was a better system that wasn't tied to the stock market, would that be beneficial? This system will save you from failing banks. You don't have to put your money in a bank. Inflation is the hidden tax. If you're only getting 1 or 2% at the bank and inflation is 6%, you're losing money right there. Then it protects you against the falling dollar and government confiscation. I may sound like a fringe person there, but it's not a big stretch. The government is spending $1 trillion more than they're bringing in, and there's $27 trillion in retirement accounts. So it's not a big leap to say they want to get a hold of that. They just haven't quite figured out how to do it. Is your money safe in the banks? Janet Yellen was in front of Congress about a month ago, and she said it depends. They just bailed out Silicon Valley Bank, and it was interesting because even though some of those people had over the FDIC limit, they made them all whole. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he had like $1 million in his account, and he got it all back. Isn't that handy? Here it says that 7 trillion is insured by FDIC and 10 trillion isn't. But I actually heard that was way less, like 5%. So that's only like $500 billion insured. I'm not sure what the right number is, but do you really want to take that chance? In this interview, Yellen said that it depends on the Fed, the FDIC, and the Treasury Department if they're going to bail that bank out or not. They'll only bail out the ones that are too big to fail, is how she put it. So she pretty much threw all the small regional banks under the bus. And I think there's a whole plan connected with that. But I'm not going to talk about that in this. This is a cash flow banking system that I learned about a few years back, and I've been using it in my investing. Some of the major benefits are it's safe, it's private, and it's protected. It's the 160-year-old system. Wealthy people have been using this for a long time. Guaranteed growth forever, plus annual dividend of 4 to 6%. It's IRS sanctioned, so it grows in there tax-free. It actually comes out tax-free also. Cash is liquid and can be leveraged. There's no red tape, and you are 100% in control. You can send a request for the money, and within a week, you have it. Like I said, tax-free income in and out. It can be passed down to future generations tax-free. You'd have to clear that with your CPA or whatever. but in most cases, that's true. Well, who uses this system? 3,800 major US banks have stockpiled over $184 billion tax-free. Billionaires use them as their own tax loophole, according to the New York Times. Jim Harbaugh got a $35 million contract with the University of Michigan for his football coaching contract. And they said 14 million of that went straight into this account. Many politicians use them. There's a few politicians down that you may notice. Mitt Romney in the center, I heard he has $2 billion in his account. Not a bad piggy bank. So how do you control your wealth? Most of us, when we make income, it's usually one of four sources: our job, a business, a pension, or inheritance. And what we do with that money is we either save it, invest it, spend it, or give it away. Well, a lot of us do that out of a regular savings account. We want access to it. Well, we can do the same thing with this system. They call it a wealth capture account. And instead of getting 1% or less, you're getting 4 to 6%. This is what the wealth capture account is. The vehicle we're using is an overfunded whole life insurance policy. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of negative stuff. Dave Ramsey, he's probably been the biggest voice against whole life. But you have to have it set up the correct way. It needs to be very specific type. So 90% of these accounts are not set up with this system. You have access to money. You can withdraw it either two ways. You can just withdraw it, which is not recommended, or you can take out a policy loan, and you can get up to 95% of it that way. And that's the way we would recommend. You set the terms on how to pay it back. You set up your interest rate that you want. So if you set up with a 5% interest, it's your money, you're paying it back, the interest goes back to you. But the one thing I wouldn't say, this isn't recommended for newer investors, because this is going to take some cash flow. If you don't have the cash flow in your life yet, this is something you're going to want to wait on. But when you can afford it, this is a great system because it can totally accelerate your investing. And I'll show you that in a minute. We're going to play the what if game again. Let's just say you have an account. This wealth capture account has $200,000 in it. It depends on the company you're set up with. 90% is available to borrow. So according to that, you'd have about $180,000 access to. Let's say you only need 100,000. Maybe you want to do a fix and flip project, or maybe you just want to, you see the falling dollar, you don't trust it. Maybe you want to take 100,000 out, buy gold and silver. That's the beauty of this. There's no red tape. With a 401k, they tell you what you can invest in and what you can't. This is a life insurance policy. There's no requirements. Like if I have a 401k, they tell me I can't invest in my own deals. I can't invest in my family's deals. With this, you can. It is pretty liquid. You send a request online, or you can just call them up. You fill out a piece of paper, send it to them in an email. They'll wire you the money in 3 to 7 days. They'll even send you a check in the mail if you want. I just don't trust the post office. So I would always have it wired. If you have the 200,000 in the account is still earning interest and dividends, you actually didn't take any of that money out of your account. It's collateral, so the company is loaning you the money. Then when the project is done or whatever, you pay back the loan plus interest. And if you don't pay it back, I mean, you don't have to, but we recommend it. If you didn't pay that back, it would come off your death benefit when you die. It's to your benefit to pay it back. This is where I learned about that strategy. It's in the Wealth Acceleration track. Wealth Acceleration Day 1 and 2 is where we teach these strategies. The instructor is Garrett Gunderson, and he says creating a business, having intellectual property, and owning real estate are keys to long-term wealth. We do not have to retire. We can continue to solve problems and add value to other people's lives no matter how old we are. That's good news for me. A scarcity mindset destroys wealth. Real estate is unique in that you can receive tax advantages along with a constant stream of cash flow. I love, ever since about 20 is when they put his classes in, and it's been a blessing. Now, here's a couple of books he wrote. I read both of them. One is Killing Sacred Cows. It's about 15 Myths About Money. It's a great book. Then the second one, What Would the Rockefellers Do? He talks about the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. They were the two richest families in the country in the late 1800s. The Rockefellers, everybody still knows about them. They have a trust. They set up this account, and they're still 5 or 6 generations later. They have more money in that account now than they did when Rockefeller died over 100 years ago. And the Vanderbilts, you hardly ever hear of them other than Vanderbilt University. They had more money than Fort Knox had in it. That's crazy. But they had all these mansions around the country, and they all went broke. Most of them went back to the States. There's a few of them that they turned them into museums. But the Vanderbilts went broke in about 3 generations. 90% of millionaires do that. One generation makes it, the next generation kind of keeps it going, and then the third generation loses it. They say it's shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve. That's what this system can show you how to do, is how to be like the Rockefellers and keep this going for generations to come. And you don't have to be rich to start doing this. It's very cool. Now, here is a local, Keo Jones. I know her personally. She lives in Apache Junction, and she had a powerful story. She was married over 20 years. Her husband got cancer and passed, but he had a really good job and he had really good life insurance. But when she looked at the finances, at her current lifestyle, the money would have been gone in 10 years. And she'd been a stay-home mom for over 20 years. She thought, how am I going to go get a job that'll pay anything? That wasn't really an option. She thought she would put the money to work for her, and she thought real estate was the best way to go. Well, a good friend of hers was involved with us, and he says, you need to come check this out. She did, and she signed up. She got started late 2018. Since that time, she's been involved in 57 deals. She has over 24 doors. And she says, for me and my children, it's just changed our life and given us that security. That wouldn't have been possible if we weren't part of this Renatus family and community. The last time I talked to her, she had over $200,000 a year coming in passive income. Now that's a pretty good cash flow. So what have we learned so far? We've learned that having the right education, along with mentors and a community, can shorten the learning curve and reduce risk. We learned about the essentials, how to reclaim your money by saving on taxes and interest. We learned how a family bank combined with a trust equals generational wealth. Then last, when you adopt an abundance mindset, you never stop learning. According to Garrett Gunderson, scarcity takes away wealth, abundance creates wealth. So what will we do for you? Well, that's a great question. It really depends on you. Like I said earlier, it depends on your work ethic, your ability to learn, your willingness to learn, I should say, and your resources. But I think it really comes down to this one word, belief. If you don't believe you can do it, Henry Ford said that. He says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So it really comes down to belief. And this is what got me for a lot of years. If you don't have that strong belief, you're not willing to take the action necessary to do it. That's where procrastination comes in. Now, here's an interesting story. Put in the chat if you know this story about Roger Bannister. This is from 1954. He was a runner. He was a medical student at Oxford, and he had run the mile at like 4 minutes and 3 seconds. He was close to breaking the 4-minute mile. But a lot of people were saying it was impossible. They said your heart would burst. A lot of people said it was just impossible for a human to run that fast, that long. But he was only 3 seconds away. He believed it was more psychological than physical. He put a plan together. He wanted to be the first one to break the 4-minute mile. What I found interesting was there was a whole lot of people trying to do it at the same time, but they all had this belief that the conditions all have to be right. It has to be a sunny day and not windy, and it's got perfect weather and, the right elevation. And he just put a plan together. He had 4 friends run laps. He figured they can run his pace, the pace he needed to win. They need to run each lap, and he ran right next to him. And he figures if he can keep up with them, he'll break the record. And it worked. The trouble was the day it was set up, it was windy, cloudy, rainy, and they almost didn't start the race because it was so windy. About 6 o'clock, the weather kind of cleared up, 6 o'clock at night. He decided to go for it, and he broke the 4-minute mile. The funny part is, within a few weeks, other people broke the 4-minute mile. It's like it gave people permission. All of a sudden, people says, well, one guy did it. I believe I can do it too. I just find that interesting. And real estate's the same way. If you think you can do it, you will do it. But you have to have that belief. Because that's why community is so important. You see people around you succeeding, and you know them personally, and a lot of them are happy that they're succeeding. So they're more than happy to help you along with them. That's a great thing about community. I know I've thrown a lot at you in this webinar. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. I just want to ask you a quick question. If I put a package together for you to help you implement some of the stuff that I just shared with you, so you could take it home and have the same results that some of these people that I've shared with you, would you be willing to spend a little more time with me to do that? I don't want to assume anything here, earned your trust or anything, but just put it in the chat if you want to take a look at my special offer. I put it together that I think would really benefit you. So yeah, okay, I'm getting some thumbs up. They say, go for it. Very cool. Okay, let me go. Well, this is my special offer to help you implement what you learned in Secret 1, Secret 2, and Secret 3. Right now, we have 78 classes in Renatus, and we sell them a la carte. You can buy any class you want for $1,250. So what would happen if you just bought all our classes a la carte? I'm just putting it out there. It comes to $97,500. So what if we have 12 one-on-one coaching sessions, about $2,000 a piece? That's $24,000. What if someone purchased the 52 one-to-many coaching sessions at $100 a piece? That's $5,200. What about the 52 weekly study group sessions? That's $5,200. So when you add it all up, oh, and then there's a learning partner access. We give you the education for 2 people. That comes to another $97,500. The total value is $229,400. But we're not going to charge you that because we're going to bundle it. You're going to get a big discount. I just want to show you some side-by-side comparisons, some other education that's out there. Now, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I've talked a lot about Robert Kiyosaki. I love his teaching. And he has several different courses that you can purchase. It starts out at $18,000 for the cash flow course. It goes up to the financial freedom course is over $67,000. And I think that's a 1 or 2 year program. Now, here's another company, Fortune Builders. I have invested with these. I said I was involved with 3 companies before. And this is one of the ones I invested with. They have a program, $34,000 for a 12-month program. But we don't do that. Instead of 1 or 2 year programs, ours is lifetime. It's a 1 year program, and then you get complimentary lifetime access. As long as you're in good standing with the company, we just give you continued access to your education. So we don't upsell. Everybody else, they want you to, if you're not succeeding, well, you need a different package or you need coaching. We just put it all in there together. Instead of books, we have live education. We actually do have workbooks that you can download to go along with your classes, but it is online and live. We also have property tours. That's where you can go meet investors that are actually doing deals in your local market. And just get with me on that. And I can, no matter what part of the country you're in, I can usually get one pretty close to where you're at. What you're going to get, I'm going to give you a free 30-minute strategy session with me, $200 value, where we're going to discuss your dreams and your goals. Then we're going to talk about what your current resources are and what your support looks like. Then we're going to create your own 3-phase to success blueprint. And then I will create your own step-by-step plan based on your goals. After that, you're going to get the essentials. There's 10 classes at $1,250 per class. It's a $12,500 value. With the essentials, you'll be able to learn how to save money by paying less on high interest credit cards, save years on paying on your mortgage, how to buy real estate without using your own money or credit, how to save money on taxes, and how to grow all 5 currencies. Remember the time knowledge, relationships, credit, and money, those. And what you're going to get, you'll get the 52 group coaching sessions. That's a $5,200 value. And then 52 weekly group study sessions. It's actually $5,200 value, not to mention property tours, monthly intensives, and local events. All that, you get strategy session with me, the essentials, the group coaching, the study groups. The total value is $17,900. The real question is it worth gambling a few minutes of your time to check this out? Which, if it does even half of what I'm claiming today, it'll pay for itself in just tax and interest savings alone. The next thing we have is the Profits Business Training. Now, there's 11 classes in here. That's a $13,750 value. I will throw in a 3-day Make Profits Again Business Summit. That's an online summit, 3 days long, $500 value. I'll give you access to the daily money matrix videos to help your mindset. That's a $500 value. Total value there for business training is $14,750. Then we get into the accelerated investor training. This is the part where you learn all the nuts and bolts on all the 11 different strategies on investing. There's 60 classes in the AIT. That's a $75,000 value. 12 one-on-one coaching classes. That's $24,000 value. There's weekly study groups and masterminds. There's iOS software, which is the software we use to find properties. That is an additional cost usually. I'm going to give you 3 months free. It's usually $125 a month. And then inside of that, there's a 23 modules on how to use the software. The total value there is $99,375. So what you're going to get with me, you get the strategy session, the essentials, the group coaching for 52 weeks, profits training, the Make Profits Again Summit, the Money Matrix videos, AIT training, 60 classes, the one-on-one coaching, 12 of those, iOS software, 3 months for free. And then you get learning partner access. The total value is $233,275. Like I said, those are the a la carte prices. You're not going to pay that because we're going to bundle it for you. Say it was $233,000. Do you think it would be worth it? I mean, if all this did was show you how to buy property with built-in equity, would it be worth it? Now, I'm going to say a disclaimer again. Renatus does not guarantee any level of money, success, or lifestyle from using the Renatus education. All testimonials are unique to that specific customer. Your results will be different and will vary depending on several factors, including your starting point, effort, and resources. That's to cover the future testimonials. Now, Nate Lambert, he used the Renatus education system and some of the software tools. He used iOS. He's been able to find over 100 amazing flips and rentals that had 30 to 110,000 each in equity. Many people out there say there's no deals. It's just because they don't have the education and the tools to know where to find them. He's kind of excited. So if all this did was motivate you to buy one cash flowing rental property a year, would it be worth it? Here's Umair and Yazhak. After 6 years of being a Renatus student, and I've done a few flips, I've wholesaled a few properties, I've built both short-term and long-term rental businesses, I've made purchases using creative acquisition strategies, and now land development projects. They just bought a trailer park in South Carolina. None of their own money or credit. It was a great deal. I can honestly say that Renatus has put together the knowledge, the resource, and the tools to be ultra successful. My family and I are forever grateful to have found Mr. Snyder and Renatus. Now, these two, Yaz was a surgical nurse, and Umair was a MMA fighter and a personal trainer. He said he used to get paid to get punched in the face. So he went from that to becoming a successful real estate investor. I'd say anyone can do this. If all this did was encourage you to flip one home a year, would it be worth it? The average flip is $20,000 to $30,000 in profit. Would it be worth it? Here's Jay and Whitney Stark. Now, Jay works for Renatus. He works directly with Bob Snyder. And I'm just going to read a small part here. It says, we love fix and flip projects. We take our 6 kids and teach them the benefits of education combined with hard work. Velocity Banking supercharges our efforts. In about 5 years, we've completed more than 40 transactions and grew the value of our portfolio by millions of dollars. We implement a variety of strategies to create massive income that we invest in long-term rentals to maintain passive income. It says the Renatus education has empowered us to change our life and subsequently the lives of our children. Whitney is now an instructor. So it's just a testament to the education that she went from knowing probably nothing about real estate to now she's teaching others. If all this did was teach you how to purchase property at deep discounts, would it be worth it? I mean, if you can save yourself $50,000 to $100,000 per property, kind of adds up. Now, JB Bursey and Valencia says we did over 5 transactions and 6 figures in just the first year with Renatus. We've been able to get a fix and flip business up and running, even with attorney, estate planning, and mortgage industry backgrounds that wasn't even imaginable before. I'm totally grateful to Renatus. Now, these two obviously have a lot of schooling, but they said this wasn't even imaginable before. Just because you've been to college and you have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things doesn't mean you understand real estate. But they've been able to apply that and do very well in just their first year. If all this did was support you in reaching your dreams, would it be worth it? We all have dreams. I hope you have dreams. Would it be worth it? Like I said, it's not going to cost you $229,000 because we're going to bundle it. What if we were to charge you $100,000 for this education? Do you think that would be worth it? I mean, we're not that far off from the Rich Dad Poor Dad education at $67,000. His is only a 2-year program. Ours is lifetime. Would that be worth it? But we're not going to charge you that. What about $50,000? Now we're less than the Rich Dad education. We're just a little bit above the Fortune Builders education. But like I said, ours is lifetime. You have the community. You have the practitioner instructors. We're using the ISD process. We're getting all these benefits. But we're not going to charge you $50,000. What if we're only to charge you $35,000? Do you think that would be worth it then? Now we're right in there with the Fortune Builders. We're almost half of the Rich Dad education. But we're not going to charge you that either. Everything we've talked about up to this point, the essentials, the profits, the coaching, the education for 2 people, you get your own separate login. This is all for $34,991. That is the billing price, down payment of $4,598 and 48 monthly payments of $633. Your education will be paid off in 4 years. But that's the billing price. We have a way for you to get a huge discount if you pay for it all up front. This is the one-time cash discount. It's $25,991. Now, it doesn't have to be cash. It just means that you're coming in with the money. Maybe you're taking a loan out of your 401k. Usually you can borrow up to half of what's in there. If you have a $100,000 401k, you can borrow $50,000. You could do that. You could put it on 2 or 3 credit cards. There's a lot of different ways you could come in with your own and get this discount. And that would be an instant savings of $9,000. What you're going to get with your Epix combo purchase, you're going to get your 78 full day classes, your learning partner access, 12 one-on-one coaching sessions, 52 group coaching sessions, and 52 weekly study groups. Now, I want to mention, if you buy in July, you get unlimited one-on-one coaching sessions for a full year. That's a big deal. We charge $2,000 a piece for those. This comes in our Epix combo. But the caveat is there, it has to be a cash purchase that's not available if you're doing billing. So you'd have to bring in your own funds for that. But with the Epix combo, your first year savings is over $194,000. If you bundle and save, you're going to get complimentary lifetime access, no charge for updated classes, and no charge for any new classes that correspond with your purchase. So if you buy the essentials, any new classes in the essentials automatically go there. If you buy the Epix combo, that's all of our education. Any new classes that come out in any of the essentials, the profits, or the Extreme Plus combo goes in your education. Like I said, when I started, there was 25. Now there's almost 80. That will save you $229,000 every year going on into the future. And like I said, I've been involved with this company over 10 years. So it's not going anywhere. Now here's the in-house billing cash discount, because we do break this up. If you don't want to buy the FX combo, maybe you can only afford the essentials. That's if you can't afford all of it, I would start with the essentials. The purchase price is $31.47, but if you bring in your own money, throw it on a credit card or something, you get an $810 discount. Your profits, if you come in with cash, you're saving $1170. The AIT Advanced, that's where you pick two learning paths. You're saving $1,700 if you come in with cash on that one. The AIT Extreme, that is without the profits, you're saving over $7,000 on that. The Epix Combo, you're saving $9,000 if you come in with your own funding. If you come in with billing and you put down $4,500, if you come in with cash, maybe you go to your 401k and you get a loan. As long as you pay that off within 21 days, then you get the cash price. You'll get your cash discount and your bill will go to zero. Now, here's my special offer for action takers. This is only good for the next week, and this is only offered on cash education purchases. You receive an additional 10% off rebate. Now, that's a rebate. After you purchase it, within 4 weeks, you will get that rebate. I'll mail it to you, or we can wire it into your account, however you want me to do it. And like I said, that's only available on cash purchases. I can't offer that on the billing. Here's the July bonus. You get unlimited coaching if you buy the Epix Combo, and it's got to be a cash purchase. But you get unlimited one-on-one coaching with Gavin for a full year. So you could do one a week, or like if you're in a deal and you just need a lot of one-on-one coaching, this is your thing right here. Plus, you still have the 7-day right of rescission. You get full access to the education for 7 days. You binge watch as much as you want. If you think this isn't for you, you would contact Renata's customer service before the 7th day. You would cancel it and you would get your money back. Now, here's something new. They just came out with this, and this is for people that are on the fence and they're not sure. Like if you saw this and you're all in, just go purchase it. Just set up your app, do your application with me, set up your strategy call. We'll get you entered in the system. We'll get your education. But this is for people that aren't sure. They want a little more time to figure it out. So give you access to the essentials for $50. You just go to bjbeto.renatus.rocks and you sign up there. There is a video with Bob Snyder. He'll tell you what's involved. There's a 7-day challenge with daily assignments. You watch them and you do the homework assignments, and you're not limited to just those videos. You can binge watch the whole thing. There's almost 70 hours of education there if you want. After 7 days, it just turns off. But then I'm going to call you and say, what did you think? Do you want to move forward? That'll be your decision time. Okay. But that's a great way if you're on the fence and it's only $50 and you get to see what's in there. Don't let money hold you back. You can get started with the essentials for as little as $399 down and $153 a month. And that is for an 18 months. When it comes to finding the money, we have over a dozen different ways to find the money. There's cash and credit, retirement funds. Like I said, a 401k, maybe you have a HELOC on your house, a home equity line of credit. Maybe you have private funding. That's, you can go to someone and ask for a loan. Maybe you could borrow from grandma and pay her back. There's been people that have done value propositions. They've gone to people in their life and they say, hey, I really want this education. Will you loan me the money? Maybe we can be partners in the education, or I can pay you out so much per deal. You know, you work that out. Then there's always life insurance. I have some whole life insurance through secret number 3. I have access to cash with that. Maybe you have something like that and you can borrow that. Then there's a funding assessment. There's a company that we work with and they will look for 0% credit cards. Sometimes people get like 50,000. They buy their education and then they have some money left over to make payment or to get into their first deal. Then last is in-house billing. I would exhaust all the others before you do that, because you want that $9,000 discount, don't you? That's a big discount. Do everything you can to get that discount. If we have our strategy call, and I really don't like the billing because I don't want to put you in a negative cash flow situation. If you're going to do something like that, I want to make sure you have the cash flow and don't get into trouble. I would rather see you start at the essentials only. You can always upgrade later. We're not going anywhere. We're not a impulse buy thing. That's why you can't buy this on the internet. You have to go through me. We have to do our application and the strategy call, and we move forward from there. This is the in-house billing, the monthly payment. This will show you the essentials is $152.67 a month, and that's 18-month term. The profits, $219 a month, 18 months. The advanced, that's where you get the 2 learning paths, that's $303 a month. The AIT Extreme, that's everything except the profits. That's $658 for 36 months. And the Epics Combo is $633 a month, and that's 48 months. And like I said, if you pay cash, say you start with a down payment, you start the billing process, put the minimum down, and then you pay that off within 21 days, you get the cash price. So what are your next steps? The first step is download the Renatus app. And I will show you how to do that in the future slides. That way, it doesn't cost you anything to open up that account, and you can see what's in there. The next thing is you fill out the application to work with me. That way I get to know you, see if we're a good fit, and you get to talk to me and see if I'll be a good fit for you. Then after that's done, we set up a strategy call and we talk about your goals and dreams, your support. We set up your 3-phase success blueprint. Then we decide whether to work or not. Now you have 2 options. The first option is do nothing and not take this leap of faith, which is 100% risk-free. The second option is you pony up this small investment today compared to all the value you're going to get in the future, and just give it a shot. Then you try for 7 days. If you don't love it, just cancel, get your money back. Warren Buffett said, the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. Now they say when you walk in his office, I don't know what college he went to, but he doesn't have his college degree on the wall. He has a certificate from Dale Carnegie course. Dale Carnegie wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And they have a course where you learn how to communicate with others. He has that on his wall, not his college degrees. So he's a big believer in personal growth and personal development. In Renatus, we kind of build that into our courses. Here's some Warren Buffett quotes on investing. He had like 25 rules. I took a few out here. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Investing is laying out of money now to get more money back in the future. And that's what you're doing with this education. It's not a cost, it's an investment. You're investing in education now that once you learn it, you can get money out in the future through your deals. Never invest in a business that you cannot understand. That's why the ISD process is so important. It's like you're going to college. You're learning in layers so that by the time you get through a learning path, you know how to invest. Then when you combine that with the support and the coaching, the community, it really takes away the fear and the risk. Then the last is risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. That's what this education will teach you, is you will know how to invest. I'm always here also. I'm a phone call or an email away, and I will be there for you as well. Here is Nixon and Judy Kasui. This is an interesting couple. I met them at a regionals a few years back, and they're immigrants to America. They came from Kenya. He said, we've already done 16 transactions. We know it's not typical, but we made over 100,000 in our wholesaling deals. I never dreamt in our life we could do this. And he says, I do this to give back. It's an instrument that's allowed me to go back to my village in Kenya and provide a well for clean water. That's cool. He's using his newfound wealth to go back home and improve where he came from, improve his village. Now that's a giver right there. And that's why Renatus, we seem to attract givers. I don't know why that is. My challenge to you, once you get started with us, is I want you to binge watch this stuff. The faster you can immerse yourself in education, the faster you can see results. Instead of watching Netflix, watch Renatus. Wayne Gretzky, the great hockey player, said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, if you haven't read that book, I would recommend it. He said, you can't change where you started, but you can change the direction you are going. It's not what you're going to do, but it's what you are doing now that counts. Here is how to get the Renatus app and the Money Matrix videos. This is your gift for staying on this long. I know it's over an hour. Go to your app store, whether it's Android or Apple, search for Renatus Back Office, and there's a symbol right there, what it looks like. You download the app, you set up a username and password, and then you put in this code. It's GT79FQ. You'll get free access, and then you'll start getting daily Money Matrix videos. Plus, you get to look around in the back office and see what's in there. You'll see the education. If you haven't bought any yet, it'll have a little lock on it. You'll get to read the bios of all the practitioner instructors, and you'll really get a feel for what's in there. Now, to recap, this is what you're going to get if you get started today. A strategy session with me, essentials, 10 classes. You get group coaching for 52 weeks, profits training, 11 classes, Make Profits Again Summit, the Money Matrix videos, the AIT training, 60 classes, one-on-one coaching. If you buy in July, that's unlimited for 1 year. You get iOS software, you get 3 months free learning partner access, and the total value is $233,275. You will get that for $25,991 as your cash discount. If you buy within the next week and get the 10% off I'm giving you, that brings it down to $23,392. Then what if I could show you a powerful way to earn between $300 and $11,200 for each student enrolled by you? This is what I talked about earlier. This is the Renatus cycle. Bob doesn't spend money on advertising. A lot of companies, they spend up to 80% of their income on advertising. Bob didn't do that. He allows his students to spread word of mouth. That's what I'm doing. I'm an ICM, and I'm sharing this with you. You sell the education, you study the education, you apply what you've learned with the education, and then you can invest in the education. With the money you're making, then you can put that right back into real estate. Most of the people that do the best, they either have cash flow already coming in or they're using this wealth cycle. How do I start with that? It's just an ICM sign up. That's super easy, and I can help you with that. It's $197 a year, and you have to renew that every year to keep your status. You're an independent contracted marketer, an ICM, and I will show you how to do this. I will actually show you how I'm building funnels and webinars, and I will get you plugged in with that. You don't have to purchase any education. You earn income on every personal retail sale you make. This is direct sales. There's no comp plan credit or commission earned on a sale to yourself. We don't have any monthly quotas. There's no group volume requirements. And then you keep level of achievement. Like I'm 5-star. As long as I pay the $197 a year, I stay 5-star. It wasn't so much about what I was doing. It was about who I had become. You remember what Henry Ford said? Whether you say you can do it or you can't do it, you're right. It really depends on mindset. So with that, let's answer some Q&A real quick. Let me see. So one question I hear about all the time is, do I have to become a real estate agent to do this? No, like I mentioned in my story, you don't have to be a licensed real estate agent to do this. In fact, it slowed me down. It adds a layer of liability that you have to have disclosures and stuff for. You don't have to do that. I quit my job to do this. According to my story, no. Like I said, I quit my job too soon. I wouldn't recommend that. When you can bring enough passive income in, like way more than what you're making now, then you quit your job. If you do it prematurely, then it's hard to get a loan. It just makes things harder. So don't do that. Another question. This was about the funding the education. Can I put it on multiple credit cards? Yeah, a lot of people have done that. They put it on 5 different credit cards. And there's that, I actually do a training on different ways to fund your education with your 401k, your IRA. A lot of 401ks, people don't know, they can borrow up to half of what's in there, up to $50,000. And then you just make payments to yourself. So it's actually an excellent way to do that. You can use a HELOC like a line of credit. You can use velocity banking. Like I said, if you use velocity banking with your HELOC, it's essentially not affecting your cash flow at all. It's like getting your education for free. Is that cool? Do I need to start an LLC? I wouldn't do that right away. You have to go through all your education. I wouldn't set that up until you're actually in a deal. You can actually close on a house in your personal name. A lot of times you're going to have to do that anyway. And then you can set up an LLC pretty quickly. And you would just transfer it into that LLC. I would not do that until you're actually doing deals. You could start thinking about all that ahead of time. Like, what names would you pick? There's a lot of things you can do ahead of time, but you don't need to do that. How do I start today? Well, right there. You can fill out the application, and then you can set up a strategy call with me and if you want to jump to the front of the line, you call that phone number. If I don't answer, just leave a message. The best time for me to call you back, and I will do that. It says, I'm not salesy. Can I do this? You don't have to be salesy to do real estate. In fact, there's a 6-step way to talk to any person to get them to say yes to your real estate deal. You don't have to be salesy. You just have to know the technique on how to do it and be real. People want real. They don't want slick. We have scripts, and that's things I can help you with too. We role play all the time so that you're not nervous talking to people about buying their house. So no, you don't have to be salesy. In fact, I would recommend not to be salesy. I guess that's about it for now. So save this screen if you want. And I appreciate you sticking on this long. And I look forward to your application. I will answer as soon as I can. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for coming.